Hey everyone, Dave here. Today's little project is on my 2001 Mirro Craft. This is a 16-foot aluminum boat. I've had it since it was new, and it's always been watertight, but last couple seasons I've got some water accumulating in the back here if I'm out all day. So I'm going to install a bilge pump. So let's get to it. Alright, so here's what I have to work with, and it's not a lot of room. I've already got a pump in there for the live well. So I picked up this Sahara 300 gallons per minute pump. I mean, I don't need a lot. This thing doesn't fill up very much. I mean, this might kick on once or twice during the day, but I don't have a lot of space in here, and I'm looking for... and I still need to get access to the plug. So I'm thinking if I could install it somewhere around here perhaps. So I need to mount it somewhere in a location like that. I need to mount it. I'm not screwing through the floor because there's water right below the bottom. So I need to mount it somehow and then get the hose going, and that should be good. I'm going to get it right about there. I can mount it like right there and hook it up, I'm good. So let's try that. Alright, so I did a little work previous to this. Went to Home Depot, I got a 1 foot by 2 foot sheet of aluminum, and I cut a 4-inch strip of it, and then I riveted the bottom of the pump, and then the pump can just slip onto it like that. And then you can take the pump off like this and just leave this. So this can be permanently mounted in the boat, and the pump can go on and off. And I want to use aluminum. I don't want things corroding. So my idea is to, I'm going to place this down in here, right where I want it. And I'm going to bend this over and then fasten it to the floor. And that should be enough just to keep this base in place. There's no structural integrity that I really need. It just needs to be down there where it's not flopping around. So I think if this is down there and then I've got this leg secured to the floor, I'll be good. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Alright, so I've kind of pre-shaped this thing. And now if I set this in here, it's in the bottom, it's in place. So if I can slide this under the carpeting and a couple, maybe some deck screws into this marine plywood, then that'll be secured in there. And so that's what I'm going to try and do. Cover around there, a couple of screw holes, and I think I'm good. Alright, so here we are. I cut this down, filed it smooth so I'm not cutting my fingers off here when I'm trying to do this. This is going to go right in about here. I'm going to tuck this underneath this carpeting. Keep it out of sight. So I think that looks good. You can barely see it. It's tucked under there. Now I'm just going to secure it down with some exterior deck screws. We'll put another 2 in. I've gone all the way through the board now, and I'm just spinning on this shank part of the screw. That's no good. Yeah, I'm losing all the teeth when I go through it, so let me get a different style screw. Alright, those aren't going to work. Let me try a few of these. See how this works. I'll go through the same hole, see what happens. Okay, that's locked in. Alright, so we'll leave that one in there. When I get it all mounted and everything's perfect, I'll put maybe another one here, and that should be it. So that puts it right at the bottom, in place, won't flop around, won't move anywhere. I like it. Good. And you can barely see it. Okay, now I'm going to set the pump down in there, and I'm going to route the wires. You don't have to go very far. There's the battery, so that's good. So we'll put the pump in there, we'll get the wires, figure out a nice route for them over to the battery. Alright, let's see now if I can even set this in and out of this base easy enough, which I shouldn't have to do very often. Kind of blind here, but alright, for right now I'm just going to leave it there because I'm going to be pulling it in and out. I will secure it when it's finally installed. That's in a position where I can route my wires. And I think they're going to go, well, I'm just looking for the length right now. Wires are going to go something like this. I think I'm going to just tie wrap them to this harness. So let me get this oil tank out of the way. Alright, so now I got this oil tank out of the way. I'm going to run these wires right along this harness. Along here, through this little hull, if you can see that, or through this little opening, and then back around and up to the battery. And I don't think these are going to be long enough to make that whole trip, so we need to add some length to these. So let's do that. Okay, so I need to add some length to these wires, and this thing comes with 3 wires. Black, negative. We got to figure out what these two do. One of them is for a switchable circuit, and the other one works with the float. I want to work with the float. I don't want to have a switch to turn on and off. I want this thing to work with the float. So let's make sure we are working with the correct wires. So I've got a battery here. I'm going to go negative. And then this one to the positive. Nothing happens. Okay. So this one, the solid brown with no stripe, works with the float. The other one is just constant on, and then you would wire this through a switch if you were going to have some kind of a switch on your dash. So I tied a little knot in this one so that I know we're not using it. And so we need to add some length to these 2 wires. Alright, so here we are again. Want to make a really good connection here that's watertight. So this is the way I would do it. Just kind of spread these out, interweave them with each other, and then twist them around. To get something that looks like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put some lead-free tinning flux on this joint and kind of melt this in there, and this is going to help the solder really suck in there instead of just balling up and dripping on the table. So let me just melt this flux into the joint. There we go. We heat this up enough, solder should just suck right into this, and we'll get a good solid connection. We'll get a puddle here to help warm things up. And you'll see the solder go right into that joint. Alright, there's that. You see, I melted a bunch of solder in there. None of it dripped, so it's all inside there. Let's let that cool and see what it looks like. Okay, that's a good looking solder joint. Take a look at that. It's strong, it's tight, and now we've got to seal it up with some heat shrink. Before we slide it on, I'm going to take some silicone paste to make it even more watertight. And we're just going to put some of this silicone on this whole joint here, so that when we melt the heat shrink, this thing will be completely watertight. A little more on this side of the sleeve. Alright, so now I have that, and we're gonna shrink that up, and it'll be perfect joint. Okay, so here's what I ended up with after splicing some additional wire, because these wires weren't long enough. There's my splices from 3 wires. There, I just terminated the wire that I'm not going to use. And these are my other 2 wires that are going to the battery. I've marked one with a black piece of tape because that's the negative side of the battery. And then I just put some twist ties every 10 inches or so, 8 inches, just so I'm working with, it's more like one cable instead of 2 and 3 wires flopping all over the place. Plus it looks a little neater. So now I should have enough wire to go all the way to the battery, which is close. I mean, I'm probably going to have to cut off, excess. And then we'll put a fuse to the positive side of the battery, near the battery, and then we'll be ready to mount the wires and get it all looking good. Okay, so here we are back in the boat now. We've got our pump with all of our extra wire on it, and let's route this wire, or find a place that we can route it that we're happy with. So it's going to come down, it's going to follow this harness. So I'm going to just go like this. Alright, let's attach the hose before we mount this thing in here, just to make life easy on ourselves. So let me do this. Now I can get a screwdriver straight down. If I need to take that off for any reason, it'll be easy. I don't have to dismount everything. Just trying to think ahead. And we'll put a couple in there. Couple in there, so that's in there. It can move, it's flexible, it can move around a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. It's at the very bottom where the pump is. It'll suck in all the water. Good. And I still got room in there for my plug, which I needed to be able to get in and out. Alright, I'm liking it. So far so good. Alright, now I'm going to secure these wires to this existing harness in here that's already in place. So let me tie wrap it in place here. Come on. There it is. Alright, so that's tight. Snip the excess. There it is. And here it is. So all my splices are way up here above the water line. It should never be getting wet. Or they shouldn't be submerged anyway. They'll get wet, but they won't be submerged. So that's good. All of my splices are up and out of harm's way. And now we'll attach to the battery. Okay, so here I am close to the battery. I want to put a fuse in this. This is going to be fused to the positive side of the battery. So I need to connect this inline fuse on this wire here. And then we're going to put some terminals on the end of these wires for the battery. We'll crimp these on. Like so. There's a good solid crimp. One on each. And these go right to the battery. Alright, and one of the final steps is to get the water out of the boat. Ideally, I would love to have this hose hidden and coming out the side of the boat in a nice clean drain hole. But this whole thing is filled with foam, flotation material. I have no clear path from under here out the side of the boat. So I think what I'm going to do is just go over this well. Got 2 drain holes for this well. I'm going to use one of these drain holes like that, and then I'm going to secure this hose like this with a rivet, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So let me get a drill and a rivet, and we'll secure this hose just like this. What do you think, Oliver? Is this a good idea? Oliver says it'll have to do. Alright, so let's get this positioned properly. I think that looks pretty good there. Alright, let's put a little dimple in here that we can drill through and the drill won't walk. Okay, how's that? That looks pretty good. Okay, here's the final look. There's the pump next to the live well pump. It's down at the very bottom. It's being held in by that strip of aluminum. The wire goes up in and around to the battery. Negative side, positive side with a fuse. And the hose comes up over the back well and out. So let me get a garden hose. We'll start filling some water in there and see what happens. Okay, here's the moment of truth. I've got a hose in the boat, garden hose. I'm going to turn the water on. I'm going to start filling the boat with water, and let's see if that new bilge pump pumps it out. And there we go. That looks nice. Good flow. I'm happy with that. Beautiful. Okay, I'm done. The bilge pump is installed. There's where the water comes out. There's the hose. The pump is buried down in there. You can barely see it. Wired over to the battery with a 3-amp fuse, wired to use the float on the pump, so it's always got power. Anytime the float rises, the pump kicks on, so it's always there. I don't have to worry about turning it on or turning it off. It's just there, which is what I was looking for. So that was a fun little project. Hope you enjoyed that. If so, please subscribe to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.